The movie opens with Kelly arriving home, greeted warmly by her mom, Sheila, and her pregnant sister, Grace. However, the mood shifts when Kelly discovers Grace and her husband have moved back in, and the lodge is unusually quiet for Christmas, with only one guest booked. Over hot chocolate with Grace, Kelly suggests Sheila should sell the lodge, arguing it's too much for her to handle, but Grace disagrees, seeing it as their late dad's legacy. Kelly mentions her firm could handle the legal side, but Grace counters that they're working hard on ads to attract more guests. Grace proposes building a snowman to relive fond memories of their dad, and Kelly reluctantly agrees. While they're outside having fun, Grace's husband Chris joins them and greets Kelly while making his awkward jokes. After Chris leaves, Grace asks Kelly about her dating life, but Kelly admits it's been disappointing. She can't seem to find someone who won't break her heart. Kelly imagines building the perfect man and shares her ideal qualities with the snowman, finishing it off with a sprinkle of Christmas magic. Who knows? It's Christmas after all. The next day, Kelly's mood sinks further when their only guest checks out due to recurring hot water issues, leaving the lodge's future looking bleak. Kelly updates Sheila and Grace, agreeing they need both a contractor and a Christmas miracle. Right on cue, Forrest Newell, a dashing contractor, arrives, leaving the three women stunned by his good looks. He introduces himself, explaining Sheila hired him to fix the lodge. Wasting no time, Grace assigns Kelly to show Forrest around, and it seems Kelly's Christmas miracle snowman might just have come to life. While showing Forrest around, Kelly admits she thinks selling the lodge might be the best option, given how much work it needs, but Forrest disagrees, confident the place can be restored. When he learns her father built the lodge from the ground up, he's genuinely impressed, and offers his condolences when Kelly reveals her father passed earlier that year. Kelly mentions she needs to pick up a Christmas tree, and Forrest eagerly offers to join her. While tree hunting, Kelly shares her father's unique Christmas tradition. They always uproot a young tree, placing it in a pot for the holidays, and replanting it in their backyard afterward. Forrest finds the perfect tree, and together they set it up at the lodge. As they discuss decorations, Forrest suddenly receives a notification on his phone and rushes off, but not before promising to return the next day. Later, Kelly confides in Grace about how Forrest oddly matches the qualities she wished for on her snowman. She also mentions that Forrest said he arrived in town from Alaska the same night she built it. Grace excitedly suggests Kelly might have gotten her Christmas miracle, but Kelly brushes it off, blaming her imagination and the sorry state of her love life. Despite Grace urging her to stay open-minded, Kelly remains cautious, insisting she can't risk getting hurt again. The next morning, Forrest returns, and Kelly continues the tour. She shows him the lake where she and Grace swam as kids, and he's captivated by the view, remarking on how magical her childhood at the lodge must have been. Kelly agrees, appreciating the memories. Taking Grace's advice, she suggests they go hiking together sometime, and Forrest eagerly accepts. At the rocks, Kelly shares more childhood stories, leaving him fascinated. During another stop, Forrest admits he's always felt at home around snow. That seems like a good sign. Back at the lodge, Kelly shares how difficult life has been since losing her dad. Forrest reassures her that even though her father is no longer physically present, his spirit lives on in the home. He promises to restore the lodge to its former glory, bringing a bright smile to Kelly's face. However, a notification on his phone prompts him to leave, though he promises to return the next day to work on the plumbing. Later, Kelly, in a cheerful mood, offers to help Sheila with the gingerbread house. Sheila shares the good news about new reservations and mentions the preparations for their annual Christmas dinner and the unveiling of the lights on Christmas Eve. Grace, curious about Forrest, teases Kelly, causing her to smile. It seems like everything has been building up for Kelly, just waiting to be stirred into motion. The next day, Forrest makes significant progress fixing the lodge, and he and Kelly take a walk to the stunning waterfalls. As they talk, Forrest opens up about his own childhood, sharing that his mother passed away when he was young, and he never had a close bond with his father. Seeing Kelly's close-knit family fills him with admiration, and he expresses his hope that, when he has a family of his own, it will be just like hers. Back at the lodge, Kelly nervously asks Forrest to be her date for the annual Christmas dinner the next day. Though her nerves cause her to use some confusing words, Forrest accepts, but just as he does, he receives his usual notification. Kelly's mood drops, fearing he might cancel, but Forrest reassures her he'll be there, before leaving. The next evening, the Christmas dinner is in full swing, with guests enjoying themselves, but Kelly can't shake the feeling of disappointment as there's still no sign of Forrest. The following morning, Sheila delivers bad news. She's received a call from a realtor informing her that someone has put the lodge up for sale and plans to demolish it. While the deal offers a small payout, Sheila fears it may be their only option. Grace is furious and blames Kelly, accusing her of being the one who pushed for selling the lodge, since it's all she's been talking about. Kelly, confused and hurt, tries to defend herself, but Grace refuses to listen. Sheila steps in, asking Grace to leave so she can speak with Kelly privately. Sheila admits that Kelly was right about selling the lodge, as it's become too much for her to handle, and business has dwindled. Kelly struggles with mixed emotions, torn between her father's legacy and what's best for the family. Sheila gently reminds her that her father's spirit will always be with them, no matter where they go. Sheila comforts Kelly, reassuring her that the offer might be what they need and encouraging her to have it reviewed legally. While Sheila regrets that things have come to this, she fears it may be their only option. The next day, Grace and Kelly reconcile by the waterfalls, sharing their feelings about the lodge and their father, and apologizing for their earlier tension. When Grace asks why Forrest didn't show up the night before, Kelly reveals he ghosted her, leaving Grace shocked. Just then, Kelly notices Forrest's name on the offer as the buyer, and her anger flares. She realizes Forrest deceived her, getting close to her just to learn about the lodge and using that knowledge to push for a lower bid, taking advantage of Sheila in the process. Feeling betrayed, Kelly laments how foolish she was to believe in Christmas magic, vowing to confront Forrest for his deceit. Still frustrated, she walks through town and unexpectedly runs into him. Forrest attempts to explain himself, but Kelly shuts him down, expressing her deep disappointment in his actions. Though he tries to speak, Kelly refuses to listen, telling him she never wants to see him again. She declares he's just like all the other men who've let her down and walks away. Later, Kelly walks in on Grace and Chris putting up old decorations on the tree. Grace tries to lift Kelly's spirits and bring back her Christmas cheer, but Kelly, disheartened, admits she no longer believes in the holiday magic and wishes Christmas would just end so she can return to the city. The next day, while the realtor surveys the property, Grace takes Kelly for a walk and they unexpectedly run into Forrest. Grace reveals she contacted him, hoping he could help clear things up, but Kelly cuts him off before he can explain. She walks away, leaving Forrest standing there. Grace urges Forrest to go after Kelly, and he catches up to her, finally explaining his side. He reveals that he wanted the lodge to be saved and thought that by involving his father in the project, it might reunite them. However, his father didn't care about the lodge's significance and offered to demolish it without his knowledge, which is why he couldn't show up for dinner. He didn't know how to face Kelly. Forrest apologizes again, assuring her it was never his intention to deceive her. As he walks away, Kelly is left with a mix of emotions. Back at the yard, near the almost melted snowman, Brett Gabriel, the president of the Historical Society, approaches Kelly. He informs her that Forrest Newell had mentioned his interest in preserving the lodge and is curious whether it could qualify as a heritage building. Brett explains that if the lodge is declared historic, it would be eligible for a government stipend to help maintain it, and it couldn't be demolished. Forrest has convinced him that the lodge meets the criteria, and Kelly's excitement grows. She quickly tells Brett to speak to Sheila inside while she runs off to look for Forrest. At Newell Properties Industries, Kelly meets Mr. Newell, Forrest's father, and learns that Forrest has returned to Alaska. She introduces herself and firmly tells Mr. Newell that she won't give up the lodge because it holds deep meaning for her family. Mr. Newell explains that Forrest wasn't involved in the plan to demolish the lodge, and Kelly expresses her disappointment that Forrest's father had lied to him. She tells him that a person never truly understands how important someone is until they lose them, which leaves Mr. Newell with mixed emotions, fearing he may have lost his son. As Kelly prepares to leave, Mr. Newell tells her she might catch Forrest at the bus station because he's heading to Bellingham, where he'll catch a flight back to Alaska. At the bus station, Kelly is disappointed to learn that the bus to Bellingham has already left, but an idea sparks in her mind. Just as she tries to call Grace, her phone battery runs out of juice, so she heads to a phone booth. Her first attempt to dial the number is wrong, but on the second try, she reaches Grace. Sheila and Grace, busy decorating ornaments, don't answer at first, thinking it's not worth it. However, Grace eventually picks up and Kelly excitedly tells her they need to build another snowman. If Christmas magic brought Forrest into her life before, it might just happen again. When Kelly realizes that her father's scarf and cap, which were used to complete the original snowman, were donated to the thrift store, she refuses to let anything stand in her way. She races to the store just as it's closing and pleads with the owner to let her buy back the items. Moved by the Christmas spirit, the owner generously allows her to take the scarf and cap for free and wishes her a Merry Christmas. Back home, Kelly and Grace have a blast rebuilding the snowman, finishing it off with a scarf, cap, and a sprinkle of Christmas magic. The next morning, everyone works together to decorate the lodge with Christmas lights for the unveiling. Later, Kelly stands by the lake, uncertain about everything, and Sheila comforts her. She reminds her that what truly matters is the time they have together and encourages her to make it a memorable moment. As the unveiling of the lights begins, Forrest approaches Kelly, who's outside lighting up the lamps, and she's surprised to see him. I guess her magical Christmas snowman worked after all. Forrest admits that he had been running away from his problems but decided to come back and make things right. He shares the good news that he brought Brett along, and the lodge has been officially approved as a historical building. Overwhelmed with emotion, Kelly calls Sheila over to take over the conversation with Brett, allowing Forrest to whisk her away for a private chat. Kelly apologizes for not believing in him, and Forrest apologizes in return for not telling her sooner about his father's plans. Forrest opens up, expressing his deep love for Kelly, wrapping them in a tender and emotional moment. Just as things feel perfect, Mr. Newell interrupts and apologizes for trying to demolish the lodge. He admits that Kelly's words really struck him, and seeing the beauty of the place has made him change his mind. He reconciles with Forrest, assuring him he'll prioritize his family, and expresses his love for him. Forrest, moved by his father's change of heart, embraces him in a warm hug. The lights are finally unveiled, and everyone is in awe of their beauty. In front of the sparkling display, Forrest and Kelly share a magical kiss, their moment sealed by the festive glow, to the cheers of everyone around them. And by the way, Forrest loves building snowmen.